Hatim al-Ta'i, I'll just give you one example. Hatim al-Ta'i was known to be one of the most well-mannered and generous people of all of Arabia. To the extent that in the days of Jahiliyyah, and even afterwards, a lot of poems were read about him. People came up, constructed a lot of poems, and for a poem to be constructed, but this was a sign of general acknowledgement. Very generous person. And remember, in that culture where generosity, everyone was a generous. People, they only had 3, 4, they were living on 3, 4 goats. This was everything they had, and a guest would come and they would go and slaughter one goat after the other to feed their guests. In that culture, to be known as the most generous and well-mannered person, his son, Adi ibn Hatim. Now remember, family lineage, family respect was a great thing in those days. And people normally are impressed by their fathers. This used to add to their own self-esteem. They would talk about their fathers, their forefathers, and he was the son of the most generous person. Even Hatim al-Ta'i, after living with a person who was known with the most generous and best person with the best character, when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, first his sister learned about the Prophet ﷺ, she accepted Islam. Then Hatim went to the Prophet ﷺ, and he just wanted to see what is this all about. When he went there, he went with a big gold cross hanging from his neck. And with all of the pride and arrogance, and he wanted to show who he was to the Prophet ﷺ. This is how he went to Rasulullah ﷺ. When the Prophet ﷺ saw Hatim coming towards him, he also wanted to show him who he was. Hatim is coming and he's wanting to show that who am I? I'm Hatim bin Adi ibn Hatim al-Ta'i, and he's coming with a big gold cross. The Prophet ﷺ also wanted to show him who he was. And he said, when Hatim came close to him, the Prophet ﷺ took off his garment, he laid it on the floor, and he said, Hatim, sit. Hatim, sit. SubhanAllah. This was enough. This was enough, and right there and then, he took the Shahada and he accepted Islam. This was when arrogance and pride met humility and humbleness. And there are many examples like this. People just coming into Islam by looking at the adab of the Prophet ﷺ. But the point, very important point that I'm making here today, why I've mentioned all of this, that Muhammad bin Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, born a prophet before even birth, even he needed someone to teach him the adab. Even he needed someone to teach him the adab. Adabani Rabbi fa'ahsana ta'dibi, that my Rabb taught me the adab. And for how long was he learning the adab? How long was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching him the adab? We find in Quran al-Kareem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is correcting him and teaching him the adab till the last days, till the last revelation. Abasa wa tawalla and ja'u al-a'ma, all of these ayahs. And not only that, you would think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will correct Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, quietly, but in Quran al-Kareem that the rest of the ummah will read it forever and ever and ever. Despite being Imam al-Anbiya, and despite his great status, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is continuously teaching him the adab. If Muhammad bin Abdullah needed someone to teach him the adab, who are we to think that we do not need anyone to teach us adab? We all need someone to teach us adab. No matter how old we are, which credentials, what kind of credentials we have, and Rasulullah was being taught the adab till his last moments of his life. He was being taught the adab. He was being corrected. His islah was being done. Who are we to think that after getting our 4-year undergrad or this diploma, after opening this door, that now we are in no need of someone to do our islah, we are in no need of someone to teach us the adab. We all need it. This is the problem. That now from a very young age, in our teens, from that time on, we've already said no. You know what we all think? SubhanAllah, you have not only heard this before, but you've probably said it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. We cannot stand from a very young age for someone to correct us. I know what I'm doing. And everyone has this and repeats, I know what I'm doing. You know, there was a person in Egypt, he used to say, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. I'm the highest of all authorities. The Prophet the Rasul, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Quran Kareem, said, oh, this is what he used to say. We're all saying the same thing. I know what I'm doing. You know, if you hear this from me, then I can understand. You won't maybe not put a lot of value to it. Shaykh Hassan Ali Nadwi, rahimahullah. One of these scholars who was not only accepted, normally scholars, they're accepted in the places where they are from, but this was the one scholar amongst the very few scholars who was accepted on a national level. When he died, I don't remember anyone in his position where the king he died in India, but the king in Saudi, he had requested everyone in Ramadan to make Salatul Janazah on him. Salatul Janazah ghaib. He said at that time that no one, regardless of his situation, his position, and his credentials, at any time in his life, he can be 80 years old, 85 years old, 100 years old, not a single person is free or does not need someone to do their Islah or to teach them the adab. Even the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, after reading, he said, Umar radiallahu ta'ala is Khalifa, such a great status, but he is surrounding himself with other companions that will teach him and correct him. Our problem today is, why do we see professionals who are in the workforce, they're professionals and everything, even ulama, but here and there you see them come inside the masjid and they're acting like children, because we feel that we are no longer in need of teaching, people teaching us adab. I'll finish with this. Imam Malik rahimahullah, such a great muhaddith, thousands of students surrounding him. There was a person who in his time was named Muhammad ibn Munkadir. He was not a scholar, he was just a very righteous man. Imam Malik rahimahullah used to say, and he's teaching hadith, it's such a great muhaddith, I cannot go into the details of this out of time, but he's surrounded by thousands of students. And even Imam Malik, in that situation, he would go and sit with Muhammad ibn Munkadir. And he'll say, he just wants to look at him. He says, just by looking at him, I feel that the rust of my heart goes away. Just by looking at him, I learn the ibadah. No matter what our situation is, how many credentials we have, at what age we are in our life, all of us, we all need someone to teach us the adab. We have to be open for other people to correct us. If we don't have someone who we have assigned, or we put ourselves in their companies to help us and correct us, we are making a big mistake. Even the Prophet ﷺ, till the last moments of his life, needed someone to teach him the adab. أَدَّبَ لِرَبِّهِ فَأَحْسَنَ تَأْدِيبِهِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us all to give us a true understanding of the deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us all. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.